So my name is Kathy Martinez. I'm one of the nutritionists at the Abilene local WIC office. And this is Wanda Brown. She's another nutritionist. And we are here today to cook southern green beans and new potatoes with bacon. The ingredient list is hickory smoked bacon, butter, garlic, shallots, new potatoes, French cut green beans, sea salt and ground black pepper, dried parsley, and dried rosemary.
Hi, before Kathy gets started, let's go over some of the announcements for this month. We will be ordering the new 2021 Texas WIC shopping guides. These will be available later on this month. You can contact our office to see if they have arrived yet. And then also, because of the coronavirus, WIC has instituted a no-contact measures to limit the spread of the virus. All right, so we have drop boxes at each entrance to the Abilene-Taylor County Public Health Building. You can drop off your card 24/7. Also, we recommend on the last month of your benefits that you would go ahead and get all your benefits off your card and then drop your card off before the 15th of the month, and we will load up your card and mail it back to you. We also have online live classes now on our Texas WIC website. So if you want to look at those, please go to texaswic.org for more information. Okay? And also do not forget to like us on Facebook. Kathy?
So I want to, I'm using new potatoes. You can get the bigger ones or you can use these smaller ones for the recipe that we're doing. I'm going to use these smaller ones, and you always want to wash your potatoes first, and so that's what I'm going to do with these. And you can do that by hand, or you can use a brush. So I'm just rubbing on these just to get a little bit of the dirt off of the surface. You don't have to cut them. So the main thing we're wanting to do is to clean these, and then I'm just going to put them in a pot. The instructions ask that you boil these for about 25 minutes. These, with them being smaller, they may take a little bit less time. And the recipe just says just to fill the water up just about 2 inches above the potatoes, just enough in there. And we're just going to put that on a medium to high heat, and then cover those up until they start to boil. So we want to cut up the bacon, and then we'll cut up the shallots, and we'll cut up the garlic. So on this right here, I know that there's a little bit of bacon on it, or fat on it, on this end of it. The recipe only calls for 4 to 5 slices of the bacon, but I like to cut off this fat because all we're using it is just for a little bit of flavor in there. So I'm just going to cut this part of it off. And then it just says to cut it into little pieces, because that's all we're doing here is just having it for some flavor.
Whenever you're cutting up any type of meat or fruits and vegetables, always make sure that your knives are sharp. Kathy has sharpened the knives prior to starting, so those knives are very, very sharp.
Yeah. And usually your set will come with a sharpener, so it works really good. So this is all you pretty much have to use, is just part of it. The rest you can just wrap up and use for breakfast or another meal, because this is the part of it that I'll use. And then here's the fat that I did cut off. If you like that part, you can leave it on, but if not, just take it and throw it away. And this, I wanted to make sure that you can boil the potatoes in your pan, but whenever we go to finish them up for this recipe, we're going to combine the green beans and the bacon and the potatoes, and our garlic and our shallots. All of that will be in this pan. The other good thing about using a cast iron skillet is that you gain some of the iron from that in the cooking process. And so that's another thing. Since we're not with this, you can use this as a meal, but if you want a meat item, then you can have something on the side with that. But using this, you're going to be able to get some of the iron from the skillet. So in this recipe, the only meat or a part of it that we're having is the bacon. So
while Kathy is getting that ready, let's go over some facts about canned and frozen fruits and vegetables. Sometimes it's hard to get all the fruits and vegetables that we need into our meals, especially for our families. So using canned fruits and vegetables as well as frozen can help add more variety to your meals. For instance, one fact that we can go over is that most canned fruits and vegetables are processed within hours after their harvest, so the flavor is preserved in the fruits and or vegetables that you are using, and then there is minimal nutritional loss. The nutrients in the canned fruits and vegetables are comparable to the fresh. And depending on the produce items that you choose, canning and freezing may actually preserve the nutrient value and even increase the availability of some nutrients that we need for our bodies. Some of the nutrients that are found in fruits and vegetables are calcium, iron, folic acid, vitamin A, vitamin C, magnesium, potassium. So there's a lot of good things that are in our fruits and vegetables. Okay. And studies have shown that recipes that are prepared with canned foods have similar nutritional value to those that are prepared with fresh or frozen. And less than 1/2 of the population of the United States realizes that canned foods meet the USDA recommended allowance for our nutrients. Sometimes it's not always feasible to use fresh fruits and vegetables. That's why the canned and the frozen fruits and vegetables can play an important part in our diets, especially the cooking part. With the canned fruits and vegetables, everything is already done for you. All you have to do is add them to a recipe. And the same thing with the frozen. They're already washed and sliced, so you just add them to whatever you're preparing. All right, and then you don't have to, it'll save you time. You don't have to spend a lot of time chopping and prepping beforehand. And these days and times, especially during this coronavirus, spending time with your family plays an important part, and your family can help out with these, with the cooking process. Okay. Let's see. And depending on the time of year, some fresh fruits and vegetables aren't always available. So that's where the canned fruits and vegetables come into play. You may want one particular item that isn't grown during a particular season or harvested during a particular season, but the manufacturing companies have made it easier for us to have those items on hand and on the shelf.
Talking about the frozen vegetables, since I'm using these green beans and some of them are pretty big, I'm just going to put them in here. It says on here that for the recipe, that you want to, since they were frozen, that you want to drain them, or at least let them thaw out, and that's what I did. I've already let them thaw out. You can kind of see a little bit of stuff on there from the, but they're pretty soft. And then I'm going to cut these, just some of them in half, just to kind of make them a little bit smaller for our meal that we're having. And then I'm just going to cut some of these, just to cut them in half, and we'll put them in this bowl to get ready for whenever we're ready to put everything in there. And some of them don't need it.
While Kathy is cutting up the green beans, let's go over some of the nutrients that are found in the fruits and vegetables. I already gave you a list of some of the nutrients that can be found in them, but let's get into some specifics. Calcium can be found in fruits and vegetables. It's essential for healthy bones and teeth. It's also needed for the normal functioning of muscles, nerves, and some glands. One thing that pregnant women are needing during their pregnancy and during the time frame where they can become pregnant is folate. Healthy diets with adequate folate can reduce a woman's risk of having a baby with brain or spinal cord defects. Another important thing, what Kathy had mentioned also, is that we need iron, and that is good for healthy blood and normal functioning of all of our cells. Magnesium is very important for our bodies. It's needed for healthy bones and is involved with more than 300 enzyme processes in our bodies. Inadequate levels may result in muscle cramps and high blood pressure. So if you're having problems with your blood pressure or you want to avoid blood pressure problems, make sure you have plenty of magnesium in your diet. All right, and potassium also is important for the blood pressure too. And sodium, it plays an important part in the body functions also. It helps with normal cell functions. And then also diets that are too high in sodium can be associated with high blood pressure. So if you want to maintain healthy levels, try to limit the amount of sodium that you have in your diet. Vitamin A is important for healthy eyes and healthy skin and protects against infections. And vitamin C heals cuts and wounds and keeps our gums and teeth healthy.
And you can get these, you can get these on WIC as well, the frozen and fresh fruits and vegetables you can get on WIC. But these, they had the regular green beans, and then I chose the fine for this recipe.
As I mentioned earlier, we should be checking the sodium in the foods that we buy, and also we should check the sugar content in the foods that we buy. Sodium is usually added to canned foods to preserve them, and you can also buy them in the low sodium, reduced sodium, or no salt added foods. For instance, if you were to buy canned green beans, you can get them in the no sodium and reduced sodium forms at the store. And if you do get the regular green beans that have the sodium added, if you want to reduce that sodium level, you can just drain the beans and then rinse them, and that'll take out at least half of the sodium content that was in the can. And frozen vegetables with sauces and seasonings can have excess salt and added calories. So if you can, try to avoid purchasing those items. If you want to season these items, you can do so at home. And so far as fruits are concerned, look for the ones that are in can or in its own juice or in a light syrup to reduce the sugar content. And if the fruit is canned in light syrup, just drain it and rinse it. Some of the fruits that come in their own juice, you can save that juice either as a drink or you can add it to a recipe. And make sure when you buy frozen fruits that they're 100% frozen fruits with no added sugars.
So the other thing that I wanted to let you know about, I moved this over here, but the other thing that you want to do whenever you, if you have anything left, is just you can put it in a baggie, but then also make sure to wash your knife and your cutting board really well with good soap and water to clean that off so that you're not cross-contaminating the other food. So for right now, I'm going to move this away.
Also, after you are cutting meats, make sure you wash your hands. During the whole cooking process, we should wash our hands before, during, and after to avoid contamination.
So on these right here, this is, you can use an onion or you can use a shallot. This is a shallot, and that's what they look like right here is the difference in just like a regular yellow or white onion. These are going to be a little bit more, they have a little bit of a sweeter taste to them. And what you can do is you just peel off the excess skin off of it, just like you would with a regular onion. But it's going to have more of a garlicky flavor to it and a sweeter flavor. And then not only that, the other thing is they're a lot thinner, so they're not going to take as long to heat up, and because all you're going to do is pretty much just saute these and your garlic. So we're going to just pull off the skin, and then all I'm going to do is just to make it into smaller pieces. And this is pretty much on this. It's just it says that you can mince. You can cut it up in small pieces. You can have it in slices. It's really up to how you like and the onion and the sizes that you want in yours, because this is about how you want to prepare it for yourself. Because you're using this as a flavor anyway. So all I'm doing is just cutting it up into slices. And I am gonna saute this with the garlic. And I'm gonna go ahead and use the bacon grease that we have. You can choose to have it with a little bit of butter. And I think even in this recipe, it calls for a teaspoon of butter. So that's not very much. On the vegetables, I like pretty much everything, but I do like Brussels sprouts. A lot of people don't like Brussels sprouts, but I think that you can do Brussels sprouts really easy and simple, and especially since you can get those in the frozen. To me, they taste either the fresh or the frozen, but I just get the frozen ones and just put a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of margarine, or just a little bit of butter in there, and just make them soft enough to what you like. But I think those are the best because they go with anything. They go with chicken, beef, pork. You can and they're in a meal in itself, and they're good green, and so good for you all the way around. Don't even have to have a potato or starch or anything. They're good. Then I've either I've done them in the microwave before, or a lot of times I just saute them. So just put them in a pan and let them get heated up. Because especially with the frozen, you don't have to boil those as long as you would fresh Brussels sprouts. But with Brussels sprouts, you can use for the frozen. You can saute them and then just put with a little bit of butter. And they only take however long. Some people like them softer. Some people like them more firm for Brussels sprouts. I like them kind of just in between, so they usually don't take very long. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to show you, because I just pulled off for the garlic. So this is a bulb. So this is your bulb, and you can see here there's several in here. Now you can pull them like this and pull them apart, and then just pull the excess off. So this goes a long way. So one bulb can go for several recipes. So like this one calls for 2 cloves of garlic. So the cloves, these are the cloves part of it here. And then you saw the bulb itself. And then you can just take that apart. And then all I'm going to do with this is just cut off, and you can see that it comes as you're cutting it. The rest of the skin will come off better that way. Because the other thing with garlic, if you can put too much. Some people don't like the taste of garlic so much, or it can become overpowering. But it's a good choice of using a different, instead of flavoring your food so much with so much salt and pepper. So a way to decrease that would be to use onions, to use garlic, add to the flavor of it. And then that way you don't have to have so much of the salt and pepper in your foods. So the other thing that you can do, these you want a little bit smaller, so you're going to mince these, and you can cut it up. I'm going to go to using the little bit smaller one. There is a technique that you can use. This will be on the website. I am going to add that to it, where it shows you how you can cut these up, the garlic and your onions, and then also how to mince. Some people like them a lot smaller. I am not a expert at it, but you can get them even smaller. And you can already smell it. The other thing that happens whenever you do start cutting up the garlic or even onions, it starts with you cutting it up. It increases the smell of it. It puts that aroma out there. The other thing that I noticed that in the stores also, if you do not want to feel like, you can buy these individually for your garlic. So if you're not going to use as much, then you might want to either just buy the one bulb. But the other thing that I've noticed is at the end counters in a lot of the grocery stores, they have the containers, the jars of the minced garlic. And it'll last longer, because the other thing with this, as soon as you cut this up, or even have it like this where you've opened it up, it's good to use these. You haven't cut them up all the way, so you can just put them in a baggie and have them to use for a while, until they really, you don't want them if they're really dried out or anything, but you can use these. But as soon as you cut it up, if you have any left over, you're going to want to use that within 5 to 6 hours. So put it in your fridge in a baggie and make sure that it's covered up really well, because then you're going to have your refrigerator smelling like garlic if you don't. So the other thing about sauteing, then we're going to saute this, and you want to do it over medium to high heat.
While Kathy is waiting for the skillet to warm up, another thing you can do with fruits and vegetables is cook them on the grill. It's starting to cool off now, but if you still want to use your grill outside, you can toss the fruits and vegetables on a grill to get them nice char on them, and they are great that way. You can put the zucchini on the grill. You can put peaches on the grill. Just cut them in half, remove the pit, and place them face down on the grill. So you can come up with all kinds of things if you still want to use that grill before it gets too cold. And now would be a great time to start planning your garden. If you plan on doing that, you can start thinking about what would be good to plant for each season. You can have things growing just about every season. Matter of fact, Miss Kathy has her own little garden.
Yes.
And hothouse.
Right now, what's going really good is peppers. So we use jalapeno peppers for seasoning, for flavor, for everything. And so right now the jalapeno peppers are growing like crazy, but usually bell peppers do really well. And the good thing about the jalapenos and bell peppers and onions is they're good for, even if you don't have a big space to have a garden, they grow really well in pots. So tomatoes grow really well in pots, so that you can keep up with those. And you could do your own. So even if you live in an apartment, small house, if you have any kind of patio, those do really well. You don't have to get too elaborate. I will say that when you were talking about grilling. The other thing that's really good whenever it's in season, because it costs a little bit less, is asparagus. Asparagus can be done on a grill, just wrapping it up in some foil, and then just a little bit of butter and salt and pepper. You can even do that in the oven as well. Those are really well. But the reason why I said that is because this past year was my first year I try a new vegetable to see how it does in my garden. And the asparagus, once you get it started, it takes like 3 years to get it going. And I didn't realize that at first, to tell you the truth. Whenever I planted it, I thought I was going to have asparagus at the end of the season. And I started looking it up a little bit more and thinking, oh, okay, all this stuff's starting to kind of come out now. And yes, it takes about 3 years. So right now, though, they are still looking good. They're doing what everybody says they're supposed to do, which is have like a little fern off of them and grow. You're not going to get full asparagus. But the good thing about asparagus, though, once you do get it established, it will produce every year. Whereas some of the other fruits or vegetables, you pretty much have to get a new pot or, pot something each year, not asparagus. So that was its only saving grace. Okay, so on this right here, you can see that I've just sauteed it. You just want it to get a little bit brown. It is really smelling garlicky in here right now.
Smells good.
So I'm just kind of emptying this right here because I want to not let it cook too long to where it burns, because it can have it can change the flavor of it and the taste of it if you let it stay in there too long, and especially the garlic itself will get too burnt.
And make sure you watch the temperature, because if you have it too high, it can burn very quickly.
Yeah, I had this, like I was saying, on medium. It just depends on your stove, medium to high heat. I just barely had this on a medium since it had gotten hot earlier pretty easily. So the other thing that I'm going to do is just put a little bit of this butter in here, and I'm going to, since these were, they've thawed out pretty good, but I want them to cook just a little bit, so that whenever everything gets put in here all together with the potatoes, then it'll be ready all at once. Okay, so on the potatoes, they've been cooking a while. The other thing you can tell whenever they're done is, of course, the fork's going through it, but then also it's already, you can slice right through it. They're really soft. So those are ready.
And everything does not have to be one type of preparation. For instance, you can have canned vegetables on hand, you can have frozen in the freezer, you can have your fresh in the refrigerator. To do a combination of those, for instance, you can put canned black beans in a salad, or you can put peaches in a smoothie. So there's different ways that you can use a combination of everything.
So Wanda, you didn't say what your favorite vegetable is and how to cook it.
Give me a baked potato anytime, any day. Especially with plenty of butter, low-fat sour cream. I'm former military, so I've done quite a bit of traveling. And when I was stationed in England, they had a potato bar. And it was not just your little bitty bar with just your basics, but they had all kinds of vegetables there that you could put on it. You could put meats on it. So you could make a meal with just one potato.
Yeah, that's really good. You can do all kinds of stuff with baked potatoes. And I know that if I'm in I know that whenever you get potatoes, you can boil them, you can bake them in the oven. They usually take, depending on the size, sometimes up to an hour, or even sometimes more, depending on how big your baked potatoes are. But the other thing too that we've done is, if we want to do it really fast, is get a baggie, Ziploc baggie, and put a potato, clean it up. Of course, you always want to clean your potatoes first, clean them off, and then put them in a baggie, and then wrap it up to where it stays, the heat stays in there, the moisture, and then turn on the microwave. And it's usually like, I noticed like a regular medium-sized baked potato is probably about 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Have you ever done it that way?
No, I haven't, but I have cooked them in the microwave. So,
Yeah.
But that sounds like it would stay moist a lot better.
It does, and it cooks it a lot faster, and it doesn't dry it out so much. Because I do like them more dried around the edges on a baked potato if you've done it in the oven, because the inside's moist and cooked. But in the microwave, that's how you, around the edges won't be moist, but you still, it cooks it more thoroughly.
Yes.
When you put it in the baggie like that. So.
And another vegetable I like is its cousin, the sweet potato. I don't need it in a pie. I don't need marshmallows on it, but nice and roasted in the oven. Nice sweet taste to it. Kathy's draining the potatoes now. And be careful when you're draining these, because it can get really steamy and get really hot. And make sure your children are not around at the time.
So you can put them in whole, or you can cut them up. It's whatever your choice is. I'm just, for this part of it, just going to put them in here. The good thing is, even though we used the pan to cook the potatoes in, I've tried to keep everything all just in this one pan, so you don't have to go back and forth and have too many dirty dishes. And then at the last, then you're going to put your parsley and your rosemary. And this only called for 1 teaspoon, so that's all I'm putting in there. But it's really up to you what you would like. Again, trying to use this first as seasoning before, if you've noticed, I haven't really gone to the salt and pepper, but you can use that, because all of these other seasonings are going to give it a good flavor. And this can be as a meal itself. You've got everything you need. If you do have to have a meat, for whatever reason, I suggest to make it a quick and easy meal to do. You can buy the rotisserie chicken. They have different lemon pepper, different ones that you can buy for really a low amount. I think they're like $4.88, $5.88, just depending on which store you go to. And then they have the different sizes. So this could be a whole meal. This right here, and the recipe serves 4. So this could be for a family of 4 or 5. Just this amount of food right here. So it goes a long way. The other thing too, for this, the amount that whenever I got it today, for all of this, it was $8.65. So that's really good. And so if you did add the rotisserie chicken, I mean, you're still looking, at under $12 to feed, a family of 4, 5. So for a meal. And then it'd be a lot more nutritious, a lot better, tastes better. And the other thing too, just remember, if you have, sometimes I make things extra, like, if there is leftovers, then, you can have it for the next day, or have it, do something else with it, add something else to it to create another meal.
and it's always better the next day.
So just to wrap up, just to let you know, the instructions on how to do this and everything that I did will be on the website. And it is the southern green beans and new potatoes with bacon. And it has the ingredient list and it has the instructions. And then also that will be included in that will be the difference between the onions and the shallots as far as the flavors and the differences in those if you're wanting to have that. The other thing that it will have on there is how to peel and mince garlic. And so the instructions will be on there, and there is a guide that is on the how to mince and garlic, or mince and cut up the garlic. That'll be on the website as well.
Okay, and other websites that you can go to as a refresher is choosemyplate.gov, fruitsandveggies.org, and also heart.org. And then on our website, texaswic.org, you'll find a lot of terrific recipes that don't require a lot of time. You'll also find quite a few fruit and vegetable recipes also. One last announcement is that the first 10 people that have watched this video will be getting a food bag when you come to update your benefits. So hurry up. And
that is from the Junior League of Abilene. So the 10 bags that are the food items is donated graciously from the Junior League of Abilene. Okay.
And thank you for watching.